So we're switching up the Chicos a little bit today. What are you having?
I got 2 exotic pineapples. This is the only one. Those are the only 2 other flavors.
Oh, okay. You want to try one of these?
No, honestly, strawberry hibiscus.
Yeah. It's better than you. Have you ever had like Jamaica from like Alberto's?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good stuff. It's made from hibiscus, but it's like it's juicy, you know.
Yeah. I've had like a hibiscus tea.
Those don't hit the same. We'll try it on our next late night bender.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Cheers. Chico cheers.
Chico cheers. Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm already spilling shit. My microphone feels like it's at a weird angle. This is busted. Sorry.
So, as you can see, we just keep stepping it up, baby. We have this nice, clean backdrop. As Ryan put it earlier, it looks like we're in a Sunny Boy, like in the void.
Yeah. We're going to have to add some stuff to it, but it gives me a nice place to put stuff here so it doesn't, like, go over anything on the set. I think it'll end up good.
Yeah, a little video action there.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of consolidated the set here, put a little more of our general interest. We got some WoW stuff, Magic, D&D, TCG cards. Yeah, it's looking nice. The only unfortunate part,
we had a casualty.
I'm actually labeled a murderer in this case, but so we had Ray, which, we had in the last video, and her scythe fell, and I tried to put it back in and just snapped the shit in half.
It's all right. Nothing super glue can't fix.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God, because...
the only thing is the way I glued it, I tried to... Because I went back and I put the pole in your hand again and tried to, like, figure out which angle I needed to glue it at so that the scythe was facing the right direction.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be perfect. It might be a little wonky. But we'll figure it out.
If I have
to super glue
the
thing into her hand and, like, just hike it up a little bit so that it fits, so be it. Doesn't matter.
I have a perfect 2D comparison situation. But do you remember that episode of SpongeBob where Patrick's like, firmly grasp it?
Yeah.
And just sticks it through the hand? I felt like that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Where I couldn't figure it out. You'll have to show me because I really,
No, it's
I was
tough.
an imbecile there, yeah.
Trying to put it back in there, I always think that I'm doing something wrong.
That's what she's... You see where I was going with that.
Oh. Yeah, kind of. But I always feel like I'm doing something wrong putting it back in there. But eventually I get it to kind of hang in there and it works. But it definitely isn't the most, like, easily affixed thing to the figure.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of just, like, gluing it to her hand? Oh, bless you.
Sorry.
Oh, bless you.
Hopefully that's not indicative of more sneezes to come. But yeah, that's what I was just saying. I'm like, if it doesn't fit, I'll just super glue it.
Yeah.
But the reason why I didn't want to super glue it is, 1, just general laziness, and 2, higher risk of it snapping because moving it around and stuff, it would fall out. But if it, like, fell off a table or something instead of just falling out, it might snap. But
yeah,
we're past that. So
So we wanted to cover an interesting topic, questions we get from time to time. But for those out there, especially who are, really into anime, and maybe they don't have a lot of friends in person, but are interested, but had never seen anime before, you try to come up with recommendations because there are certain ones you can't suggest. We'll just get that out of the way. There are certain ones that you just, for their first time, you don't want to freak them out.
yeah,
Because most people that aren't into anime, and you mention it, they're like, oh, the stuff with, like, the tentacles. You're like, no, like, I'm going to stop you there. Like, this is completely different. And, anime as a whole is just so generalized at times where really there's, genres within the genre. There's horror, comedy, romance. There's something for everybody.
To make sure none of the shows I picked have tentacles in them.
Yeah, you just give that a
we
quick...
should be all right.
Yeah, I think we should be good, yeah. So, yeah, you're probably wondering, like, hey, what could I suggest to them where, there's a certain point, like a few points we're going to look at. Like, for one, longevity. So we'll just say it off the bat. We left like the big shonen out of this. So Dragon Ball, Naruto, like you're not going to expect any of that because someone who's, never really had the interest, but they're thinking of checking it out. Like if you just shove like, oh yeah, by the way, there's 900 episodes to this, they're going to lose interest pretty quick.
Yeah, just a well-told, consolidated story.
Exactly.
And we thought this would be a good idea for an episode because just from the personal conversations we've had with people who have been listening, they don't know anything about anime.
Yeah.
So if you want to educate slightly and get into the world a little bit, these would be good for you. So if you're listening and you have no idea anything about anime, we got some recommendations for you.
Perfect way to put it. So, yeah, longevity, a second point we kind of were going over is we tried to pick things that weren't very, like, in the know, like the anime within the anime. So if you're watching an anime about a manga author or something where there's a lot of those anime kind of cultural references, we left that out. So something where it's really just a story being told, where these are ones I think that are well adapted to like live action or a book. You could just read it as a book because it's just, like you said, a story well told. Kind of a third thing we are looking at too is just things that have enough like a provocative nature to be like interested, but not too over the top. So things that aren't going to be too gruesome or just too, for
just
lack of better terms.
Something easy to get into. I think a couple of mine are a little weird, but there's tiers to them. Like there's easy to get into, and then like, you could move on to something a little more in depth that you might have a little more of an understanding about. Not that it's anything like it carries over from show to show, but just the general feel of an anime,
Yeah.
But what do you think is a good one?
So my first one off the bat that immediately comes to mind, because it was really one for me. I did watch anime prior, but I didn't have an understanding of anime in itself. Like I thought it was all just cartoons, you know. So the first kind of big one that I was like, whoa, like I love this thing called anime was Sword Art Online. Season 1. Like season 1 was the only portion that existed at that point. But Sword Art Online, I think, is a pure example of a well-done isekai, a fantasy world, people that are into video games or just into like fantasy lore and stuff, like creatures and swords and
just in case, what's an isekai?
Right. So yeah, let's
I figured we'll probably go through, and as we're talking about them, explain the terms and like give kind of like a synopsis of the story.
I'm so glad you said that, because you can see I'm getting carried away already. So an isekai is an example of somebody that transports to another world that's completely unknown to them. So typically like a fantasy world. So imagine you're living your, rudimentary day-to-day life, and you just popped up in Lord of the Rings. And you have your prior knowledge to where you're from, but now you have to experience this grand adventure that's in front of you. So Sword Art does a really good take on that because it's a little more realistic too. It's not like somebody died, is reincarnated in another world, as much as they're immersed in this video game, but they're stuck. And one thing I think that is easier to digest too is it's 12 to 24 episodes per season. So it's something you could knock out relatively quick if you are interested. And there's not a lot of characters, where the ones you do meet are memorable, but you're not overwhelmed with these millions of names you have to remember or like weird terminology. It's pretty easy to digest.
Can be tough even for, a veteran such as myself. It's like My Hero, Assassination Classroom, some things like that. There's so many characters that then you just forget the names. It's hard to get connected to the whole crew, the whole cast. It's hard to feel something really that has depth to it with that many characters. It's cool, that they can tell that many stories, but you already know it's going to be long to get through all that.
Yeah, and it feels incessant at times. Like that's a great example with Assassination Classroom is an anime where there's a whole classroom where probably like 90% of it like doesn't really matter. They're like a part of the story, but they're not super integral. Like they're just kind of there, but they're still throwing the names around. So you're like, who was that again? But you don't really encounter that issue in Sword Art Online, and I think it's probably one of the more balanced shows we're going to be talking about as far as there's a little bit of romance, little action, little mystery, tiny bit of comedy where
it's actually pretty much balanced on like the lot of action in the beginning, get you invested, then a lot of romance at the ending of all like the story arcs. So it's kind of nice because it'll get you interested and then it'll kind of develop some characters.
So it's very balanced, very easy for anybody with, general interest to kind of be like, oh, this is a cool story.
Yeah, if you've ever played an MMO, you'll probably be interested,
Which we could even explain that for, people that maybe haven't played
just
MMOs.
In case, a massive multiplayer online game. So think like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, Guild Wars, EverQuest, just some of the older ones that are as examples, Black Desert Online, MMOs. World of Warcraft was probably...
That's the one that
probably suffices.
The household name. So a game where you're playing with a lot of other people. So it's not like just exclusive to your experience,
And in this Sword Art game, the first game that they get stuck in, it was during the release, like all the people who first logged into the game, there's a select amount of them that get stuck in the game. It's like all the people who just logged in, at launch. Do you remember how many people are in the world? It's like 3,000.
They gave a number, but I can't call it off the top of my head.
But that's it. So and the whole concept when you die in the game, it fries your brain and you die in real life. So that's kind of the struggle in the game of they all just went in to play a game, and now these random regular people are trapped in this fantasy video game where if they die in the game, you die. So
that's it. It's over for you. And it's not so far-fetched in the sense that they're putting on a VR headset, and experiencing a very real kind of deep dive into this game. But, we have that technology now where we're kind of moving closer towards more immersive VR gaming.
Yeah, so, have you seen I think I showed you the half dive that they were working on, like the machine setup that has like the resistance bands and stuff, so when you move, you lay down and just put it over your face, but I feel like it'd be pretty easy to get immersed in that.
Yeah.
Kind of lose track of where your body ends and the avatar's begins kind of thing.
That's so cool.
Because I don't know if it would more so be... A couple coworkers of mine were arguing about this a day or two ago. But I don't know if it would so much be like put on a helmet and they send microwaves into your brain that make you feel the things so much as it would be like haptic suits. Like you'd be awake, you would just be so immersed that after a couple hours of being in the game, it would be easy to forget that you're in the game.
Right.
It wouldn't be an uplink of your consciousness.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be as integrated. But it's the idea of when you're holding a controller, and it rumbles. When like an explosion goes off like that, but just all over whatever gear you could have on your hands. You might feel it in your feet. You know?
Yeah. It's still a little like out there for the fantasy aspect of it, because I think one of the dudes was using Sword Art as an example. He's like, oh, it's Sword Art Online, it wouldn't be like that. I just kept chiming in and being like, these are shows, right? Like animated shows.
Yeah, so it's not going to be to a T, 1-to-1 with reality. But
it's definitely possible. I mean,
it's not the farthest.
If there was a real-life villain out there that was like, hey, I'm going to spend all these years making this awesome VR game, and then I'm going to lock everyone inside. Which could happen.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, because it's not like the helmet just becomes sentient, like wraps around their face as much. It's like you can't take it off.
Like Half-Life.
It's just going to... Yeah, like I forgot about that.
The head crabs.
Yeah. Oh, man. So before we get into anything else, I just kind of want to do a quick fit check, too. So for the listeners out there, I'll kind of describe. So Rod Guy over here has the vintage Stray Cats band tee. He has the Omo cat, kind of half anime girl, half skull cap on, dad cap. He has a neighborhood Japan bandana, like short sleeve on. What'd you call it? Like the middle school shirt?
Yeah, it's like what a middle schooler would wear to the picture day.
Yeah. I have the Tokidoki kind of ring hat on right now. I have this vintage Japanese bomber jacket, so it has that souvenir kind of dragon on the back. It's all blacked out. It's cool. It was like that when I thrifted it. And then capital bandana bolo tie and a T-shirt that says, "People like you are the reason people like me are on medication." So couldn't pass that one up. Goodwill boys.
We got some fits out here, you know.
Yeah.
We're looking good. We're looking fresh. We're trying to stay on top of it. Mainly me, but
we're having a good time with it. So
I gotta say, man, that's what I was telling you is like I gotta go through my closet because the amount of clothes you've given me in just the last month or two that you've been here, I was putting the dirty clothes in the wash earlier, and I was just amazed at how many fucking clothes I have. I need to get rid of some of the old stuff because you just keep giving me these things. You walk in my room like, you want this jacket? $300. Not like charging me.
Yeah.
So he comes in and throws money on me. I'm like, oh, I'm wearing money.
You know, it just works out perfectly because a lot of these things are like from Japan and they fit like Ryan has a much thinner build than I do. You know, I have a little heft to me these days, so it fits him very proportionally, and it looks super killer on him, you know. He has the rock star build, and I'm kind of like, I have trying to think of a good comparison right now. A character like a Goomba. A bomb-mom.
It might just be the jacket you're wearing right now, but you strike me as like somebody who goes to league night at the bowling alley every week.
I have to get into that. You know, when I put on the jacket, it changes the man I am. Yeah.
It's a vibe, though. I love bowling.
Bowling's great.
Yeah. Bowling alleys just make me happy. I don't know why.
I like everything besides the shoes.
Yeah, fuck the shoes.
Like, you know, like that guy definitely had some toe fungus before, you know, they were passed off to you. And, ugh.
I've never really had any issues with the shoes themselves. I just don't like wearing them.
Yeah, just the idea of it. But so what's something that comes to mind for you when you think of like a nice introductory anime?
Oh, the first one is the easiest answer I could ever give. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
I could see that. What makes you kind of think of that one as a good example?
It's just so story driven. It's a little longer, so you're not gonna, you know, be necessarily itching for more directly after finishing it, but
not too long.
Yeah. So the basic breakdown synopsis, and I apologize for the people that are listening to this who have personally watched it with me like 6 times, but it's about 2 brothers, and in this world they're in, this country of Amestris, the alchemy is a skill that they can use circles of power to transmute objects into other objects, you know, but everything, it's all about the equivalent exchange. Like, I could take this can, and because it's made of aluminum, I could, you know, draw a circle around it and put in the power or whatever, and I could turn it into whatever I wanted, but I could only use the amount of aluminum that is made up of this can. And these 2 kids try to bring their mom back to life by putting all the ingredients of a human into a thing and trying to bring her back, and they end up losing their bodies for it. And the show is all about them trying to get their bodies back, but of course, you know, in perfect fashion, it's a byproduct of the main storyline that they do, you know, succeed in their goal. But it's the story of going through all of what they go through. It's like 57 episodes, 60 episodes, but I don't know. It's just it's no filler, you know. The filler episodes are just character development episodes, basically, and it always is kind of progressing the story a little more and more because, you know, they do a lot of traveling, and it's such an awesome show. I've never had anybody that I've shown it to not love it.
Right. And same here. You know, it's definitely, it's known as one of the greats, but I just want to put it out there for, you know, people that aren't familiar with this show too, is there is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which we're referencing, and then there's Fullmetal Alchemist. They are based off of the same source material. So, you know, for those who aren't familiar, a lot of anime come from manga, which are essentially comics. In Japan, we got a little stack right here, so those will be adapted into an anime. So Fullmetal Alchemist is basically the same story. It's a little older, but a lot of people would say it wasn't done as well.
It's significantly different.
It starts out the same, right?
No.
Not even, huh? You know, it's been a while.
It starts out with Ed going to take his state alchemist test, and he's like a young child. Brotherhood starts out, he's already a state alchemist.
So, yeah, don't want to confuse you guys and get too deep into it, but look for specifically Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah. Not that the original animation wasn't good, it was adapted into a show before the manga was complete, and they kind of just said, we're not going to follow the manga story, we're just going to, it was like a spin-off before they made an actual show following the story. But Brotherhood is just so tightly wrapped up. I would just recommend start with Brotherhood. It's just better, in my opinion.
And it's a good pick, too, because it's not so different. Like, culturally, it's kind of like they're in, like, Europe, right?
Yeah.
Like that world's concept of Europe, and there's not going to be a lot of, like, terms thrown around that you're like, huh, like, what does that mean? You know?
It's not, it has nothing to do, like, the inner terminology of the show has nothing to do with anime.
Yeah.
You could pretty much just, in your mind, even the way the characters are designed, you know, they have a more round face and stuff. It doesn't have the usual anime pointed face. You can easily just say it's a cartoon, you know?
Right.
It's easily integrated into, if you grew up watching Dragon Ball Z and you grew up watching some cartoons on Cartoon Network and stuff, that, you know, this is just another one you can add to the repertoire that's slowly bridging that Venn diagram of animation and anime. So I think it's a good one to get into because it's easy. You don't have to know anything about anime. You don't have to be interested in the topics. It is just a good story, well done.
And I think a good point we should put out there too is a lot of these options, and especially the two we had mentioned, have been long established, and they do have English dubs.
Yeah.
So even more so,
which are good.
If your friends or yourself are kind of turned off of the idea of having to read subtitles because the show's in Japanese, this is in English, which I would argue done pretty well. Like the dub for Fullmetal Alchemist.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is one of the few anime I don't watch subbed. I will watch the dub.
I watched it dubbed as well, and it feels very organic.
It's fantastic.
So it's not going to be like, man, it doesn't look like they're saying what they're saying. It's going to feel very fluid.
They did a great job.
You know, one I think that's appropriate to get into too, because we kind of compiled our list separately and then cross-referenced to see if we had any in common, and one of those that came up was Death Note.
Yeah.
So I think Death Note is an excellent pick. Same thing. Long established, has an English dub that's actually done
roughly like 26 episodes.
Yeah, significantly well. 26 episodes.
There's that really funny potato chip scene.
The potato chip scene, which, you know, once you get there, leave in the comments or
you'll get it. This is the first one where once you get to watching Death Note, you'll be a part of the inside anime jokes.
But yeah, kind of, you know, a different animation style than the previous two, but still within the realm of, it's not overly cartoonish, where it's more realistic proportion of human beings.
Yeah.
The eyes aren't massive. They don't have the pointed face. It's more anatomically correct to anime standard.
Yeah.
You know, and the basic premise here, which I feel like is interesting to, you know, many different demographics of people, it's a bona fide mystery at first, like a very, you know, intense mystery where...
Yeah, it's like a thriller. It's like what's the term I'm looking for? It's like a crime suspenseful.
Very like you're on your toes quite often, because think of it, it's kind of like a big game of chess where there's, you know, this antagonist, protagonist, but that line's kind of blurred, you know. And for the basic premise, without giving too much away, is Light Yagami is the we'll say protagonist for now of the story, the main character they focus on, and just out of the sky falls this notebook, and it's called the Death Note. They're the gods of death, so they're called Shinigami in the show, but think of them as like Grim Reapers.
Yeah.
Where they pretty much control who dies, who doesn't die, but one of them's a little bored, so he throws down this notebook, which now allows anyone who picks it up to write a name in it and a cause of death, and that person dies in that fashion. So this could fall into the hands of a criminal who wants to kill people. It could fall in the hands of somebody who has a very astute, sense of justice that's like, I'm going to change the world with this thing. So there's a lot of outcomes there. But it really goes to show how, humanity has this idea of like, oh, my independent way of thinking is perfect, but then it kind of conflicts with the rest of the world.
Well, I think that's really what Death Note does well. And again, not to give too much away, but this Death Note that falls in the school grounds, gets picked up by Light Yagami, the main character. That's his name, right? Why does that sound weird?
Because I think I said Yagami.
I think it's because Forrest's name on Twitter is Lit Yagami.
Yeah, yes. I was thinking about that. I was like, don't say lit, don't say lit.
As his real name sounds strange to me because he ends up going by Kira and stuff. It's a whole show. Crazy, right? But he gets it, and it's a perfect example of like somebody who has such like a hard focus on the idea of justice that it slowly kind of starts to become more malicious. It's like he is doing a good thing at the base level of what a good thing would be, but it's just a very interesting take on the concept that even if you're doing like a positive thing, if it's just that you think it's positive, it may not be beneficial for everybody in the world. And giving one human that power, you get to kind of see what happens,
It, and as corny as it is, it's almost the pinnacle of that term. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, it's Death Note and Spider-Man. Those are the two.
I'm going to stick some death in your eye.
I'm going to put some death in your eye. I'm going to put some Ryuk in your eye.
But yeah, with Death Note, it's one of those shows, you definitely don't want to look it up and, because it's been out for so long and find too many spoilers, because the whole point of the show is each episode, you're like, whoa, like, what's going to happen next,
Yeah, and I would say there's really only like one big spoiler. Everything else that happens in the show, you could tell somebody an event, and by the time it's happening, they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's so many cool scenes that just watching them play out and seeing how they do it, like the whole, I'm wearing a watch now, but the whole watch scene.
Yeah.
That was sick. And I don't want to get too much into Death Note and how much I love it, but like, there's this whole thing of, losing your memory when you are done, when you don't have the Death Note. So that's kind of gets used in the advantage of like preparing.
Yeah.
But, oh man, yeah.
And you're not bound to it either.
Yeah.
So anyone could pick it up and use it. That's the thing.
I don't want to get too much into the actual meat and potatoes of Death Note, but Death Note is one of those shows. I rarely ever talk about it just because it's, most people have seen it. Most people that are into anime, they're like, oh yeah, I've seen Death Note, and I've talked about it time and time again. But there's so many cool things about that show that I definitely think it belongs on the list of recommendations. If you're not really into anime, that's one you should watch.
It just might be the one to like snowball you, get you into this world. But really quick too, I just want to point out, something you'll notice too from our previous picks and the next two we're going to mention is they're also on very accessible platforms. So we didn't pick anime that you could only find on like Crunchyroll or on Kiss Anime. Or
I personally didn't think about that. There might be some of mine that I picked that are only on Crunchyroll. But
well, so far. So I will say at least the last three. You could find a lot of them on Netflix, Hulu, so you don't have to have some anime streaming website to look these shows up. So
yeah, and that's three options right there that by that point, you might, Might as well get a Crunchyroll subscription because you're well on your way.
Yeah, so by the way, today's video is sponsored by none other than, I wish it was Crunchyroll. I wish it was. Notice us, Crunchyroll.
Can we just say it and then like send them an invoice and see if they pay us?
Yeah, see if the account, is not negative anymore. And be like, oh, sweet.
Like, come on, we got to pay bills.
Yeah. So what's another pick you had? Let's see if that's consistent, or there might be some a little harder to look up.
All right. I'm kind of torn between the next two I want to bring up, but I'm going to go with an older one just for the, people who might enjoy something a little before anime but became what it became, wants to go back and really see what was going on, Actually, I guess I could talk about two, and we may have talked about both of these already, but specifically as a recommendation, if you don't watch anime now, the late 80s, early 90s Ghost in the Shell, like the old movie.
Okay, yeah.
It's just, it doesn't get much better than that, like, aesthetic style, I wouldn't recommend Standalone Complex necessarily.
Right,
I would recommend the old movie from the 80s or 90s. Because it is just, that's a perfect introduction, You can start from way back when in the Akira days and go all the way to see what it's become now. And it'll be a beautiful journey.
It's not so different when you're watching the original Ghost in the Shell film that you were mentioning from, like, especially if you're in our age group, we're both 27 turning 28, but if you grew up on a lot of cartoons like Batman Beyond or Jackie Chan Adventures, Avatar: The Last Airbender, things like that, it's not going to throw you off entirely.
Yeah, it is a little older though.
Yeah,
like, we grew up in that generation of all of those shows coming out was more like Standalone Complex.
So maybe I feel like, those might be poorer examples than perhaps like Transformers. I feel like it was closer, kind of like the original Transformers.
Yeah, kind of in those old days of, animation just kind of kicking off.
Right.
Especially in Japan, with Toei and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, we haven't really had animation for that long. Has it even been 100 years?
I don't believe so, no. Yeah.
Let me Google it real quick.
Let's Google that. So while he's looking that up right now, just a interesting thing to point out, too, is Ghost in the Shell, as old as it is, it still remained kind of in the now as far as, I won't say super recent, but I think it was a few years ago, maybe a little more, but there was a Ghost in the Shell film that came out with Scarlett Johansson, and that's based off of this exact series. And Ghost in the Shell was also considered to be one of the, what's the term I'm looking for? Kind of like points of reference for when they were creating the Matrix story, which I found fascinating too. So this one is very intricate. I can't speak. It's very much so in our culture, and like a lot of shows that we know and love have stemmed from this. So,
and I'm sorry, I know it's good that you were talking directly to them because I was trying to read this with my bad eyesight from all the way over here.
Yeah.
But apparently the first animation was the Flintstones on primetime. There was animation back to 1906, but the first show was 1960. So this is just like
first recurring show because there's the old, Steamboat Mickey stuff from way back.
Yeah, this is the prime time, but I think that was around that time too, like 50s, 60s.
No, that was way before, bro. We're going to look that one up too, because now I'm just curious.
I think it was
Steamboat
like
Mickey, dude, is like, that's old, That's like right after like radio.
Damn.
1928.
Okay, so still,
Mickey,
1928, hasn't even been 100 years. So
we're getting pretty damn close, bro. We got like 6 left. That's surreal.
Mickey's almost 100.
Wow. So 2028, if there's not an apocalypse by then, it's going to be a massive year for Disney. I can say that much.
We'll be experiencing the world dying and mass societal collapse and not being able to survive on this planet anymore. But in 2028, at least we can say it's Mickey's 100th birthday.
Like Mickey comes out of cryostasis, preserved as young Mickey
Walt
from
Disney
the 20s.
comes out of cryo sleep, and he is Mickey.
And he sees 2028, just, everything just obliterated and dystopian. He's, oh, holy shit!
He's like the Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen.
Yeah.
Walt Disney comes out, and he's just like become Mickey. He's like, oh, blows up the world.
Maybe Mickey Mouse will be the one to end it all. He'll just be the...
I can only hope. Could you imagine how funny that would be? Is like just seeing like the like a Titan-sized Mickey hand coming towards the Earth,
or like a Death Star, but shaped like with Mickey Mouse ears.
Disney's finally taken over the intergalactic space, and they've realized we don't need humans anymore.
It's like after every Elon Musk interview, you see him turn around like, hoo-hoo! Like they have a secret hand sign. It's the world's largest secret society.
Elon Musk is Mickey Mouse.
We're getting real deep into conspiracy here.
Tell me I'm wrong.
This is the first place you heard it. Elon Musk is Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a 2D Research Club fact.
Yeah.
We did our research. We figured it out.
Oh, yeah. Look it up. Mickey Mouse Space Program 2028.
Mickey Mouse funding SpaceX? Question mark?
That could be the next clickbait title that no one clicks on. Yeah. They're like, why would I care about this?
It's just YouTube's not going to recommend it because they're like, this is pointless.
The Earth is not round. It actually has Mickey Mouse ears. It's
what it
circles.
Is? They don't want the truth getting out.
Yeah. If there's not an episode 12, you know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't quit. We didn't get lazy. We didn't realize that this isn't for us. No. We got taken down. PsyOps.
Mickey Musk, just...
CERN. CERN's after us. We had to jump to a different world line.
They open up the Disney black hole. Yeah.
I like how this whole episode... it's just this part, but I just made a reference to like Steins Gate.
I was just gonna say,
people who aren't interested in anime. I'm sitting here making CERN references and stuff. Well, I mean, CERN's a real company.
No, yeah, CERN. That was the scary thing about Steins Gate. Not gonna get into it.
It was real.
Yeah, that CERN's legitimate, but their play of CERN was very, fantastical.
Yeah.
But, anyways, what anime were we even talking about?
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell.
We were talking about like early animation and stuff.
What is Ghost in the Shell about? Because we have yet to explain that.
Okay, so Ghost in the Shell is about like a futuristic landscape where they're cybernetic, and there's these... It's basically like, imagine you uploaded your consciousness to a flash drive, and that is your ghost. And you can upload your ghost into a body. So if your body fails, you can, just uplink to a new body.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called Ghost in the Shell, is because the main character, Major Katsuragi, or whatever her name is, she is a ghost in a shell. She is a cyborg being, and she's at this secret special ops that they kind of handle crimes that have to do with that, like ghosts going haywire and murdering people, or just weird, strange, existential things for an AI, It's like, am I a real person, or am I a computer program that just has these false memories implanted in me to make me think that I was a person? And it's just kind of like, episode by episode, it's kind of like a CSI, kind of thing. They go and investigate a crime and stuff, and it's a lot of like cyberpunky, futuristic crimes that have to do with AI and technology. But
so I would say this one, although a good recommendation, wouldn't be the easiest to digest. So I'd say this is more so like not to recommend to your teenage friend, that's not already into sci-fi or kind of like critically thinking about these things. Like, it's not the easiest to bite off, but the part that does make it a little easier, too, is although there's a storyline, it's kind of like every episode, like you said, like CSI, where it's kind of, you could jump in,
Well, if we're talking standalone complex, yeah, but the one I'm recommending is a movie.
Oh, the movie, right, yeah.
not the redone version, the old one, because I think it'll just, to me, when I watched it, because I watched Standalone Complex when I was a kid, and I thought that was the original. I didn't learn that Ghost in the Shell was, I think I kind of knew, but I watched the movie recently, and I mean, it's just so beautifully animated. Like, it's got such an aesthetic to it. And I think, I think it 100% should be something you recommend to your teenage niece and nephew or whatever, because I think it would be perfect. They could take that to school and be like, I like anime from the 90s. And they're cool, hipsters.
But the film specifically, so Standalone Complex, you would say is like, if you like the film, then it's like, check that out, right?
I don't really like Standalone Complex.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think Ghost in the Shell is really cool, but I think Standalone Complex is a little weird.
I'd say go for Ergo Proxy.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ergo Proxy's good, but
that's for another time. That's not a recommended right now.
We're getting more in depth. We'll get you up to speed.
Yeah, we'll catch you up. We lose ourselves in anime.
Yeah. Everybody who already is into anime right now is just like, I've seen all these. Come on, give me a new one.
Which, unfortunately, we're probably not going to do.
Yeah, no, we're just, I mean, but, hey, maybe we left something out, and you can leave in the comments another recommendation that you think maybe something you've recommended to family trying to get them into anime.
Absolutely. So this is just our limited experience and our takes on it, but leave it down below in the comments what you guys think would be your top 5 to suggest to somebody not just getting into anime, but is not even really that interested in anime, but they're like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're going for here. So another one that came to mind for me, and this is going to be a little more specific. So I was going to say Tokyo Ghoul, but just the first season.
Yeah.
So I was only going to recommend the first season, which is 12 episodes, but beautifully crafted. It's very much, it follows all the criteria and kind of the bases we went for with the previous picks, but this one happens to be very suspenseful, dark, but not overwhelmingly. Like, you're not watching a horror movie, but there's moments where you're like, whew, that's scary, you know? But I feel like it's not going to be too much. It's just enough to, like, draw you in, you know?
I mean, Tokyo Ghoul is really good, but do you want to give a quick rundown of just, like, maybe the first half of the first episode, because that pretty much sets the stage.
Without spoiling. So you're looking at main character, Ken Kaneki, and he's just an average college student, very reserved, very shy, and he has his first real date, which turns into a life-changing experience for him. I'm not going to tell you how he got there, but he does take on qualities of a ghoul, which in this show, a ghoul is another person, but they kind of have I want to say not abilities, but how would I explain, like, Kagune?
I mean, they do. Yeah, the Kagune is their abilities,
they
but
have
they
abilities.
Also basically they're just they're a species that needs to eat people.
Right, so they're cannibalistic, and they can't eat other stuff.
Not necessarily to survive, but to improve their strength. Like, the more they eat people, the stronger they're going to be.
So I think a great way to put this, and it's kind of a funny comparison, but in Twilight, how it's like they could live off of drinking, like, deer blood and animal blood.
But like, they won't be at 100% power.
Yeah, like, they'll get their strongest if they're, drinking the blood of other people. So it's kind of like with the ghouls here. They are, humans. In the daytime, they'll go on about normal jobs and normal things, but when they get hungry, they eat other people. So he finds himself kind of sucked into that world where he has one foot in the life of humanity and one foot in the life of being a ghoul and kind of figuring that out. So there's just a lot of suspense and action, and the opening song for the show is probably arguably one of the best openings to ever exist.
I would 100% agree.
Yeah.
It is so good.
It's incredible. And I think for a lot of people that I've talked to, it's one of their first, and then they got stoked on anime after that. They're like, whoa, like, this is anime? So that's kind of why I picked it.
Yeah. I would say that it's one of those ones like you kind of got to want to be interested in anime. Like you got to go into it wanting to understand, because it is definitely like the first, I think, on our list that goes into more so what anime is, like the weird powers, the strange mix-ups and everything, the absolute aesthetic of the fact that the only things that the ghouls can consume that doesn't taste terrible to them is coffee.
Yeah.
Like that's just such a there's a lot of coffee shop scenes and stuff. It's nowhere near a significant portion of the show, but it's just very aesthetic, like
yeah.
If you're not into anime, you have probably seen things from Tokyo Ghoul if you are on the internet.
Right, yeah, and a great way to put it. And what was I getting at here? Oh, so it kind of shares this theme. One thing you will notice, so if you do start watching anime or getting interested in it, a lot of, I feel like anime come with the concept that it's not so black and white. So you'll always see this opposition. You'll see, kind of this protagonist or the heroes or the devils and they always like to blend it, in this gray area. Well, some of the bad guys are good. Some of the good guys are bad, So there's always this sense of duality in nature, I feel like, with a lot of anime, where that's a prevalent theme you'll see, where I feel like in not only Western animation, but cinematography, there's always the clear-cut, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy. So that's one thing that kind of is exciting, though, because the people we thought were good are kind of bad, and the bad guys, there's some good ones. So it's a lot of those, twists and turns that get you sucked into these shows, I think.
Yeah, which has become definitely more common, Like, people have learned that a villain is really well done when there is an element of understanding, They are not just out to do the most evil thing because it's evil. It's just two different societies or two different classes of character are at odds. You can see the reasoning from both. Whether or not you agree with it, I think that's what the important distinction is, that you can see the reasoning of everybody in this show, but it's just there's an all-out war going on throughout this show between three groups of people that, some of them only want to fight when they have to, and some of them want to crush the opposition, and it's just those levels of hatred that kind of perpetuate this dramatic story that Tokyo Ghoul is.
Right. And this really goes into, you think of we'll expand upon this in another video, but character subtypes where it breaks away from the, just the chaotic evil and the lawful good, you get to see all those in-betweens, like the chaotic neutral, the different facets of different personalities. And I'll retract my statement, because I think of anime probably more so for a long time, but you're seeing movies like The Joker and you're seeing, Venom, where they're not painting this picture of, just this malicious evil entity. They're kind of giving almost rationale behind them. This is why they ended up this way,
That, and yeah, they're showing a lot as well that even the hero can be the villain in somebody else's story.
Right.
Which I think is just a huge wave of writing that we're getting to experience. But those have always been the ones that shine above the rest. When a villain is written in a way that you're even if you don't agree, if you can see their reasoning, that's what makes a good villain. If a villain is just like they were in the old, if you just wanted to say Batman, old Batman movies, it was literally just Mr. Freeze wants to freeze Gotham.
Yeah.
Batman's got to stop him. There's no character depth to Mr. Freeze. He just wants to freeze stuff.
Right. Boy, I'm just trying to freeze right now,
I am trying to freeze.
Oh, with good old Arnie, yeah.
Poison Ivy just wants to grow plants, and they just so happen to be poisonous.
She doesn't care,
Yeah, there's no depth there. It is literally linear. Just these people are bad, good guy steps in. But now we're at a point where there is depth in writing, which I think is super cool, and that's probably why I enjoy most things nowadays, because I'm I can see how it's written well. Maybe it's not perfect, but I'm an enjoyer I'm a consumer.
Yeah, which even It's interesting in the 20 years. I'm not going to talk about this too long, to bore the hell out of everybody that's not into it. But World of Warcraft, for like the 20 years it was around, started as like the Alliance Horde thing. But now it's like, is the Horde really bad? Is like the Alliance really good? Do they have a common enemy? So
I mean, to be fair, the Horde was never necessarily bad.
Yeah,
they have. That's what made the writing good. It's just that after perpetuating a story for so long and trying to, in an MMO where you have Alliance and Horde factions fighting in player versus player combat and trying to keep that lore friendly, even though there's plenty of times we've teamed up in the MMO now. But like Warcraft 3, it wasn't like the Horde was bad. It was just that, they were a society of people from a different world.
right.
And there was already some contention between the races in Azeroth, between, humans, and they had their little alliance and stuff.
Yeah.
Because the first Warcraft was orcs and humans.
Yeah.
It was like their conflict. And then it slowly, by Warcraft 3, now you're like kind of starting to see like the start of the Horde,
And when the movie came out, it kind of touches on like the misunderstanding between like the orcs and the humans,
Yeah.
which was so awesome. But yeah, we're already losing you guys. I can tell.
Nah, we got some Warcrafters in the comments, right?
Let's get a thumbs up from the Warcrafters.
Yeah.
All right, let us know you're there.
Thumbs
Let us
up
know
if
you're
you
listening.
hate it. Thumbs up if you don't, because it's not like the dislikes matter.
Yeah,
No, they do.
They hurt all the
yeah.
same. We'll say they don't matter, but
Yeah, you can't see them. They hurt just as much, but that's okay.
Yeah,
You
that's
just,
cool. Yeah,
If
you don't
press
like Warcraft,
if you press the dislike, you're not
you're not a part of the club. That's for sure.
You know what? Fuck the likes and dislikes. Don't like the video. Don't dislike it. Comment.
Yeah,
if you like Warcraft, and then we can argue about it. I'll be in there. You say you don't like Warcraft, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, let's all fight about it. Let's get some contention in the chat, y'all.
Yeah.
So
let's build some drama.
Dude, I think we have a big one for. It was kind of one I feel like we both came to as well. I think at least.
What is it?
Attack on Titan.
Oh,
I say that's like probably the major one,
We didn't talk about this, but yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was on my list. That was one that I would recommend to somebody, especially now that it's like mostly done. You got a year to get caught up.
Like that shit's like what, Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man to us is like to Japan,
Yeah,
but like here too now, I feel like it's like as prevalent as like the hero stuff,
Attack on Titan is sick.
So if you've been under a rock and haven't heard of Attack on Titan, let us tell you why you might be interested in it if you've never seen anime before. What are some points of the show that would lead you to believe that somebody that doesn't like or have liked anime would be interested?
Well, I mean, firstly, it doesn't have anything to do with anime.
Yeah.
The actual show itself, I mean, it could... I just don't think it would be done well if it was like... I'm pretty sure they actually made a live-action movie, but I just don't think it would be done well. The animation is great, whatever. But the concept is that you are introduced to this group of humans that is the last of humanity, living within a city that is like a circle with multi-walls. So like the inner circle is protected by 3 sets of walls. So that's where the rich people live, and then the outer wall is only protected by that outer wall. And they live in that. They never go outside. They don't know what the rest of the world is like. This is their life, because there's titans that are, 3-4 times the size of humans. They vary in size, but they're very large, and they eat humans. They're just like mindless creatures. And the show starts with a group of kids that are, just playing and talking about how cool it would be to go experience the outside world. And then, boom, hole gets kicked through the end wall, and they get overrun. And it just starts this whole story following this kid who has everything taken away from him and decides, I'm going to kill everybody.
I think this one is going to deserve the pairing tonight. I'm not going to give that away yet, but just because I think to a T, Attack on Titan is one of those shows you don't know what you're getting into. I can guarantee you could even have seen season 1 and you're like, oh, I know what Attack on Titan's about. You don't.
Yeah.
You really don't, because I thought I did, but the show is so much more massive than what's given to you initially. Yeah. Now this, out of our recommendations, is going to be the longest, probably close to Fullmetal Brotherhood, right? Like around 60-something episodes total?
I think they're in the 80s.
Maybe 80? Yeah, 80s. Yeah, so it's going to be the longest one, but it's worth it,
I think it still comes in under 100, which honestly isn't too bad. But yeah, this is definitely one that's worth it, and I don't think, at least from my recommendation, I know a lot of people, generally the people I've heard that don't like Attack on Titan very much are the people that knew what was going to happen and then tried to watch it because they were like, this isn't that cool. But going through it and experiencing it and not knowing what's going to happen, I think is what is going to give you that attachment to the show.
Right. And it's a good opportunity to get into it. So it's coming towards its completion. There's a little bit we're still going to wait for. So you have another year to catch up.
Yeah.
So great time to get into it. It's still relevant. And it's been like a 10-year journey?
Yeah,
almost?
Just
about. So for those of us who started kind of when it came out, it's been a wild ride, and there's been a lot of breaks in between. But you, as someone who's just getting introduced to it now, get to start from the beginning, but not be left hanging for like a year or two.
I think it's like 8 or 9 years because I think the first season started airing when I was 19.
So it checks all the boxes. It doesn't feel like you're watching an anime. There's no anime references. There's nothing, cultural cues that you're not going to pick up on. There's a dub that pretty much comes out alongside the subs practically.
Yeah.
Most of it's dubbed.
I've never seen the dubs, so I can't really speak to the quality, but I'm sure it's
can't speak on the quality. Yeah. But there are dubs for those who don't want to see subtitles. It's a captivating, engaging story with a decent amount of characters, but all very memorable and all super important to the part of the story.
Yeah. There is a lot of characters, but that is, I think, one thing that we can say it does well. And I know there's people that probably disagree with us out there, but all the characters were memorable. Like, you could show me a character from there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I know this guy.
And they are all essential to the story.
Yeah.
Every character you were introduced to is a big part of the story in one way or another, whether you find out later, find out from the get-go. So nothing's wasted,
Yeah, there are some, some losses, some realistic losses, but
yeah,
I think it's done very well and in a way that only improves the weight of the story. It's not like it's just like, oh, we're going to kill this person because we know you like them.
Yeah.
There's a reason. You can see clearly that, yeah, okay, that was going to happen. Not that you saw it coming, but when it happened, you're like, you're wiping a tear from your eye saying, this is just the cost of war.
And perhaps not, the craziest comparison in the world, but somewhat likeness of Game of Thrones, I think. Like, I know you haven't seen Game of Thrones.
I have. What do you mean?
Oh, I thought you said you hadn't.
No, I've seen all of it.
There's something else we were talking about then. So you were getting lost in the sauce here, episode 11. Thank you for sticking with us, like, past 10. That's crazy. But so Ryan has seen, past the intro, But
we're still here.
We're still here until Mickey Mouse does something about it. But anyways, you have seen Game of Thrones, so you could kind of see where it's like each character like has that part of it, and there's all these nuances, and it turns into something bigger. It's kind of like, if you're a fan of that, I can imagine you'd like Attack on Titan.
Yeah. It's a little, I mean, it's got a lot of differences, but it is like that. It starts off, it's just like introductory, and you think you know what's going on. It's like, okay, this is the major plot point of the show, and then like it changes. It makes you feel less like, oh, this is the show and this is what we're trying to achieve, and it puts you in a position where there's so much more that's going to happen.
Right.
And as those things start to happen, you're thinking about it less as what you thought it was going to be, and you're thinking about it more as like I can't wait for them to like show me what's next,
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how I felt about it. But I have had conversations with people who think Attack on Titan is probably the worst written thing in the world. And
that is so hard to believe.
Yeah, I don't get it.
What?
But
yeah.
But I think it's really good. I would definitely recommend it to somebody, even if they didn't like anime. I'd say, yeah, check out Attack on Titan. You'll probably like it. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I still have some Chico, but I'll polish it later because
I can finish it.
I like this one. We have to give him the
let
beer
your boy
pairing.
hit the strawberry hibiscus.
All right. That's how we do it.
I know you only agreed to that because you knew you could just.
Yeah, if I had to pass it
over.
to you, there's no way you'd be sipping on that right now.
It's more fun that way.
But we're gonna go over the beer pairing. So. I'm gonna take another sip of this real quick.
Do you need me to do a drum roll?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds more like a purr. Just go ahead.
So, by the way, thank you for sticking with us through this, and I hope you guys took something of value from what we had to say about introductory anime to someone that might not be an anime, whether that is yourself or a friend of yours. So, we have a pairing to give you guys, and it's none other than we got to go grab it.
I just also want to say, even if you are already into anime, maybe it was fun for you to hear us have our shitty opinions. Maybe you have a friend who's not into anime and you guys can sit down together and watch this podcast and you can tell them, don't listen to this because their opinion is trash.
Wrong. Canceled. So while he's grabbing that, I will give you the anime. So we are pairing with none other than Attack on Titan as the pairing with, this name's going to be an interesting one, so he's getting a couple glasses. I'm going to leave you in that suspense just a little bit longer. You're like, buddy, come on, just get out with it. Like, we don't care that much. I know you don't, but we're doing it. We're doing it for us too, okay? It's a reason to drink beer. So, thank you, lovely Ryan, for grabbing those cups and the beer. So, introducing, can you read it off for him?
Introducing from Evil Twin Brewing. Oh wait, Westbrook from Westbrook Brewing, brewed in collaboration with Evil Twin Brewing at Westbrook Brewing, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, I believe. It's called Do You Like Spicy Nachos?
Yep, that's actually the name. And you're like, why the hell are you pairing this with Attack on Titan? Well, or I'll tell you, Batman. So, this is the perfect example. It kind of, not only just with Attack on Titan, but generally for all the shows we went over, but especially Attack on Titan, is a show that you don't know what you're getting into once you crack that bad boy open. Just like this beer right here. We've never tasted this with a name, Do You Like Spicy Nachos? It's a stout, and we don't know what to expect here. So we're going to be a part of this journey with you where you don't know what you're getting into with anime right now. And, you're starting Attack on Titan, and you're like, you think you know what it's about, We're thinking this is going to literally taste like nachos and just hoping that's not the case. Although kind of sounds good after you've already had a few things to drink, but I kind of just want a normal stout out of it. Like, what are you expecting out of taking your first sip right now?
I am literally expecting this to taste like spicy nachos, and then I'm going to Filiberto's after this.
Ooh, that does sound good, but we put this one off for a bit. We had it in the fridge, and we're like, what could we pair this with? And this is what came to mind. So we're going to give this a taste, or is this... Oh, it's one of the cool bottles, too, so we have the wax on the top.
Yeah, for any audio listeners, this entire time I've been desperately struggling to get the wax. I got it, but I was just trying to cut the wax all nice and cool so it didn't ruin it, but it broke into pieces. But I got it open.
Got it open just all right.
Nice little, see, look, I fucked it all up. Whatever, it's fine.
But pretty cool bottle. Did pick it up at Holiday Wine Cellar in Escondido, California. So this is one of the other picks I grabbed from there.
Do you want to explain our coloration as I pour it?
Yeah, so for the audio listeners, it's dark. It looks like coffee. That's all you need to know.
It literally
it straight up just looks like you're pouring me a glass of Ice Joe right now.
It's very kind of viscous, but it looks like it pours smooth. Like it doesn't have a chunkiness to it. It's just got a thickness in the liquid. Look at how I'm doing this. I look like a spider.
And it has very, like, how do I say this? Like, the carbonation has a lot of tiny bubbles. It looks like it's a glass of, like, Diet Coke now.
It does kind of look like a flat cup of soda.
Yeah. Not in a derogatory way, just purely from a observation standpoint, but oh yeah, these are beefy glasses. Ooh, so that's the full pour.
That was a big bottle.
Not super heady on it, but we have had this bottle for a while too, so that's always something to pay note to. I will get a fresh bottle of this eventually as well. Not too long, but a good probably three months here. But reading off the label, this is an Amarone. I'm not quite sure how to say that, but inspired blended Belgian-style strong dark ale. This isn't even a stout. This is a Belgian dark, and here I thought it was a stout. So, forgive me there, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is actually a Belgian-style strong dark ale aged in port, bourbon, marsala, and cabernet barrels with raisins, cherries, black currants, and cherry raspberry puree added.
My brother,
12% alcohol.
I'm gonna be real with you. I just smelled it.
Yeah,
it does not smell good.
Wow, that tastes like prune juice.
I'm sorry, that's fucking awful.
Oh. So, that's probably the first time you heard us say that. Here's the thing.
Tell me the thing.
It has puree in it. Yeah.
It's in my nose.
From the travel. From California to here, and I don't know if I let this sit out in a box and not in the fridge for a bit or what happened, but it might just be a little off. Like it sat out in the heat too much. Or that's just it. So,
it's bad.
We're not going to give our review on this one. I'll be real with you. I'm sorry, Attack on Titan is not this bad.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And this really just totally ruins the point.
Why are you spinning it towards me? I don't want it.
We're going to dump these, and no disrespect to Westbrook or Evil Twin Brewing, because
this may have just been an improper storing.
Yeah, this is bad. I think this is our fault right here. So I'm going to pick up a fresh bottle of this. We're going to do another take on it and give it a fair chance. So this is not a depiction of the beer itself necessarily. Unless we get it, it's fresh and it tastes exactly the same, but I highly doubt that. Mean, this is like turned.
It doesn't entirely taste... I mean, it does have a taste like something is wrong about it, but it doesn't, like, it also kind of just, like, with a name like, do you like spicy nachos? It seems almost like it is, like, kind of, poking at you, like, hey, you like spicy nachos? Try to drink this shit.
Yeah.
It is just very, it is very strong.
Already, I don't mind the flavor, but it's in fear of if it has gone bad, I don't want to drink it.
Let me take another drink. I keep feeling like I drink it, and I'm like, the flavor is... There are elements that are okay, but it is so just like...
Because it tastes delicious to me. Because I do love the fact that they mix, the raisin, cherry, blackcurrants, raspberry, cherry puree, like, it could just be, that's throwing us off. I'm going to keep sipping here. You know what? Review is back on, baby.
I don't like it.
So, actually is really tasting pretty good to me, but I want to mention what's going to throw people off, like Ryan, right now, is there's a lot of puree in here. So there is a pretty decent puree content. So it's going to have that same texture of when you're drinking like a naked fruit juice smoothie. If you added some juice to it to dilute it, but it's still going to have that pureed fruit. Not a stout, so you're not going to get the coffee in here. It's a very, as they say, strong dark ale. And it's aged in port, bourbon, marsala, and cabernet, which are all very strong liquors and wines or spirits. So it's going to take on a very strong character.
Oh, it's strong.
Yeah.
Maybe that can be the relation.
So the more I'm sipping it, I'm thinking off the first hit.
Much like Aaron Yeager.
This is one where it's like you really don't know if it turned because it hits you. You're like...
Yeah. It doesn't, as I'm sipping it more, it doesn't taste like something has went bad.
So nothing went bad. You know, nothing went bad here.
It's definitely just like the aftertaste I get, manageable. But when I drink it, it gives me a visceral reaction of like squinting my eyes and being like, ooh, that's bad.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The more I sip on this, more I think it's like fucking delicious.
You're sick in the head.
You know, I might just be sick in the head, but there is just that juxtaposition of the strong dark Belgian
so bad to
and
me,
the pureed fruit. It's like a sinful prune juice. I like it more every time I drink it. But
you gotta fit.
It's heavy.
I can't drink it anymore. I can't.
Ryan is tapping out. This is heavy stuff. I can't finish this. I can't even finish my glass.
It's all you. Hey, listen. So I want you to have it. No. I will say, man, like if you start enjoying it, that's cool, but
just like anime. I feel like we may have let you guys down with this comparison right here.
No, I mean, it's not like we pre-test them, you know? I feel like the fact that we got to episode 11 before getting to one where like I can't drink that. I won't. I don't care if you like it. I don't think if you say it's an acquired taste, that I don't like.
I like it. I can't drink that much of it. And although I love strong stuff, like this is like if you just have a pear on you and you want the strong of the strong, just that jammy, fruity, kind of dried fruit, pruny, dark.
I will say
Belgian.
You said it was 12%.
And it's 12%.
It does not taste like 12%.
It doesn't.
I will give it that. If you're looking for something very, very high content with a very unique flavor.
Yeah.
This might be for you.
But I will say kudos, man, to Westbrook and Evil Twin for creating this and saying, do you like spicy nachos?
It seems
for
to
the
me,
name.
Just like looking at the bottle, it is a plain red logo.
Yeah.
With on the side of it.
So I don't know if you guys can get a better look here, but
it has all the text on like one vertical column that says, do you like spicy nachos? And then says the brewing companies, but it is just a plain red label. Looks very sleek. And it was dipped in wax. So we had to cut the wax off the bottle.
Kind of looks like a Maker's Mark bottle, yeah.
This seems like a meme. Like they're fucking with people. Like, do you like spicy nachos? I was like, yeah, of course I love spicy nachos. I don't love this, though.
So how are we going to compare that to Attack on Titan and just introductory anime, though? This is not, because this is the opposite of an introductory beer. If someone's never had a beer before and you hand them this shit,
yeah,
they're going to be like, this is fucking beer?
Well, you know what? Hey, listen to this. Check this out.
Okay.
The reason
let's
why
bullshit
it's
this.
related
Let's bullshit our
to
way
Attack
like we
on-
always do.
The reason why it's related to Attack on Titan is because much like the show, we flipped the script on you. We were talking about introductory anime this whole time, and we went to endgame level drink apparently.
Yeah, they form a juxtaposition so you can understand what's easy to get into and what's very,
You
very
can see
challenging
very much
to get
how
into.
we talked about like easy to get into anime, but then paired it with a beer that is very hard to get into. And see, it's that level of contrast that I think we see a lot in modern media of like, like we can understand the villain more or less. I'm completely bullshitting. Somebody get me out of here.
I'll say this because I'm being honest when I say I like it, but I'm also being honest when I say I can't handle it. I can't drink a full glass of this.
It's hard to sit, like, the taste is still in my mouth. This aftertaste is good. I like it. It's not bad, but it is so hard to get down. It gives me, like, look, watch.
This will...
I am going to try not to react while taking a drink from it.
Okay.
And I'm being 100% genuine. Audio listeners, get fucked for the next 2 minutes. Not 2 minutes, but just, I promise. Yeah. I'm going to do my best. I'm not going to smell it first.
I'm gonna go for mine.
It just makes my lip curl. It's it's not. I won't say tough, but going down, it definitely is like, ooh, I don't like that. And then once it settles, it's like, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's just it's hella rich.
Yeah,
this is like, you don't need a lot of it to get it. Like, all right, it's a flavor bomb in every sip.
I would say, like, if I was to just give advice to the bottling of this, I would say put it in, like, an 8-ounce bottle.
Yeah.
Don't put it in something that fills up 2 glasses because you're going to ruin it. If you
This must be made for sharing with, like, 4 people.
Yeah.
It's the same principle.
100%. If you buy this size bottle and you have 4 people, this is probably a great beer to sip on and an experience with friends. But
this is the best way I think I could possibly explain this right now. So, it's a good thing. It's a good taste. But think of your favorite, like, just the best cologne. It smells so good. You love that cologne. You wear it every day. But if you put on 150 sprays of it, it's still a good cologne. But, man, it's a lot. That's too much. It's not, people aren't going to tell you smell bad. They're just going to say you're wearing too much fucking cologne.
Yeah.
You need to chill on the sprays, This is the example in a beer where it's like, it's not bad, it's just, it's too much. Yeah.
I definitely think it is too much. I mean, if you're watching video, just look at this.
I think it was experimental.
It's coloration. It looks like cold brew that has been sitting on the counter for about 23 hours, and you filled it with ice.
Like, for those who want to, pair this with Attack on Titan, I recommend stock up on wet wipes, a bidet, toilet paper, paper towels for the aftermath. I mean, you're going to want to stay clean after this because I do not have a good feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But, yeah, I think this is just, I do think, though, this was bound to happen.
It had to, yeah.
And, going forward, maybe that's just something we can say. We develop the pairing prior to the tasting so that we have something to talk about, but sometimes we're going to miss that mark. But I definitely think just this whole experience right here, there's 10 different ways I could relate it to Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Just this whole experience of popping open a bottle that's got a wax-tipped cap that we had to get off and being like, oh, I don't know what this is going to be like, and then experiencing such a visceral reaction.
Yeah.
I definitely think that this pairs well with Attack on Titan, regardless of whether or not I personally like it.
Right.
So I think we still did good,
Yep.
For the audio listeners, I'm asking Giuseppe for a Nux.
It's a pairing, all right.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
we made it happen. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we didn't.
We definitely paired a drink with an anime, that's for sure.
We did it. So, episode 11, what a wild ride.
Woo!
You know, it's probably getting old to you guys that hear it in every episode, but seriously, thank you. We're stoked on this. The set keeps getting better. Hopefully the content's getting better along with it. We hope you guys enjoy listening. You take something valuable out of it that you can bring home, talk about with your friends, or talk about with us in the comments down below. So
yeah, I mean, you know, leave a comment, like, subscribe, do all that bullshit. But I mean, it's
the end of the day.
If you even like, if this is just something, you know, I work a job where I listen to a lot of podcasts. If this is just something you can throw on and listen to a couple guys talk about something you might be interested in, like, it's really appreciated that you're checking it out. You know, you're tossing that subscribe, you're giving it that listen, and I just hope that eventually, you know, you can feel that you want to comment something, and we can maybe have some interaction. You can give us some ideas, and
like, even if you're just using it as audio to cover up the sound of you pooping in a public restroom, like, if you just during that time where you're just, you know, relieving yourself, if you could just be like, hey, you know what, this got me through a hard time. I'm in this Circle K restroom. It's pretty dingy, but you know, after 20 minutes of my business, I tuned into this video, and it's kind of cool. Let us know.
If you're listening this far in, and we're about to close, so I'll let you do your last little piece thing right here.
Yeah.
But if you're listening up until this point, I need you to do one thing. Go to the comments and comment, do you like spicy nachos? Do that.
And we will know.
We're not going to get any comments.
You hung to the end. Yeah, we're going to get 0.
This
but
is a
we're
test.
putting it out there. A test. Testing. Anyone out there? All right, so.
Yes.
Awesome. Had a lot of fun. Thank you again, guys. Peace.